You know that feeling when someone walks into your life and instantly fills the room with charm, confidence, and allure. Her words seem to dance. Her smile feels magnetic. She knows how to make you feel seen, valued, even chosen. But over time, something shifts. That warmth turns cold, that confidence becomes control, and that sparkle starts to blind rather than illuminate. It's not always easy to see the truth behind the surface, especially when the person looks so composed, so self-assured, so impossible to fault. But sometimes, beneath the beauty and grace, there hides a deep void, one that constantly demands attention, validation, and power. This video is for anyone who has ever been drawn to such a woman, whether as a friend, partner, colleague, or even a family member. Understanding her isn't about judging. It's about protecting your energy, your peace, and your sense of self. A narcissistic woman doesn't reveal who she is through what she says. She shows it in how she reacts when the spotlight fades. To truly understand her nature, there are 3 things you need to pay attention to. 1. Watch how she responds when the attention stops. For a narcissistic woman, admiration isn't just pleasant, it's oxygen. It feeds her sense of identity. Every compliment, every approving glance, every small sign that she is admired or desired helps her feel alive. When the world is watching, she shines brightly, performing a version of herself that seems flawless and captivating. But when the eyes turn away, when the compliments slow down, the glow begins to fade, and that's when her true nature begins to surface. The calm and confidence that once seemed natural often start to feel forced. You might notice tension in her tone, impatience in her gestures, or a subtle shift in energy, as if the air around her changes when the focus is no longer on her. For someone with a narcissistic core, attention is not just about vanity, it's about survival. Without it, she begins to lose control over the image she's built, and that loss feels unbearable. When admiration stops, her mask begins to crack. She might turn distant, cold, or even quietly resentful. The silence she gives you is rarely about peace. It's a form of punishment, a way of saying, "You failed me." It's designed to make you uncomfortable enough to chase her attention again. Some do this through passive aggression, short answers, disinterest, subtle digs that make you question yourself. Others go further, creating small emotional storms just to pull the spotlight back. This pattern isn't random. It comes from a deep and fragile insecurity. A narcissistic woman often builds her entire sense of worth around how others see her. She cannot rely on an inner sense of value because that inner foundation doesn't truly exist. It's as if she's standing in front of a mirror that only reflects when someone else is watching. When no one looks, the mirror goes dark, and she can't bear what she sees in the silence. That's why you may notice her constantly seeking new audiences. Through social media, friendships that revolve around admiration, or dramatic stories that draw attention. Every post, every exaggerated tale, every moment she ensures she's being noticed is part of that endless chase for validation. The need is never satisfied because no amount of attention can fill the emptiness inside. When you stop feeding her ego, her response becomes a test of her true character. A woman grounded in self-respect and emotional maturity doesn't panic when the attention shifts. She continues to show kindness, patience, and balance because her self-worth comes from within. But a narcissistic woman sees that shift as a threat, and she'll do almost anything to reclaim control. She may start to manipulate the situation subtly, acting hurt so you'll comfort her, creating drama so you'll focus on her again, or making you feel guilty for not appreciating her enough. These are not random reactions. They are calculated emotional moves to restore her power. And the cost? It often comes at your expense. The more she struggles to pull the spotlight back, the more she drains your energy, your peace, and even your self-confidence. Her need for attention can become so consuming that it begins to suffocate the connection entirely. You start walking on eggshells, afraid to disappoint her or to shift your focus elsewhere. So pay close attention to how she behaves when the applause stops. Does she remain calm and grounded, still showing warmth and empathy? Or does she grow restless, irritated, and cold? The difference is profound. A woman who genuinely loves and respects others doesn't crumble when the spotlight moves away, because her worth isn't tied to it. But a narcissistic woman will fight, manipulate, or even destroy relationships just to keep that light shining on her. And sometimes that means dimming yours in the process. 2. Listen to how she talks about others. Pay attention to the stories she tells about people who are not in the room. The way someone describes ex-friends, co-workers, or family members reveals a map of their inner world. For a narcissistic woman, those stories usually follow a clear pattern. Either she lifts herself up by putting others down, or she paints herself as the constant victim of everyone around her. Both moves serve the same purpose: to protect an image that must always look strong, admirable, and central. When praise for others is rare and criticism is common, take note. Remarks that make other people seem small, foolish, ungrateful, or malicious are not casual observations. They are tools for reshaping reality so that she always comes out ahead. If every setback belongs to someone else and every success belongs to her brilliance, the narrative becomes a one-woman show where empathy and balance have little place. This is not merely arrogance. It is a defense mechanism that keeps fragile self-worth from being exposed. Also listen for how she softens or sharpens her language depending on who benefits her. People who support her often become golden examples, while anyone who challenges or disappoints her gets minimized or dismissed. This selective empathy signals that relationships are valued only as long as they confirm her self-image. The moment someone fails to reflect the admiration she needs, that person becomes an object to be explained away, blamed, mocked, or turned into evidence that others are the problem. Responsibility rarely rests with her. When something goes wrong, blame migrates outward. This refusal to accept fault is not always loud or dramatic. It can be quiet and skillful. A shifted emphasis in a story, a carefully framed detail, a gentle implication that another person overreacted or misunderstood. Over time, this pattern erodes trust because real accountability never appears. Without accountability, apologies are surface level at best and manipulative at worst, offered only when they serve to restore attention or control. True empathy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is the one thing a narcissistic woman avoids. Admitting mistakes or showing genuine sorrow would crack the polished facade she relies on. So instead of owning harm, she distances herself from it, reframes it, or uses it to reinforce her narrative of persecution. This makes it difficult for anyone who has been hurt by her to find closure, because the emotional ledger never balances. Her stories keep her safe, but leave others carrying the weight. Let what you hear guide you. If the pattern of conversation consistently places her at the center, excuses hurt behavior, and recasts others as the constant problem, that pattern will likely repeat in how she treats you. The same words she uses to describe absent people are the blueprint for how she will describe and treat those close to her when the stakes rise. Listening carefully now gives you early sight of a behavior pattern that can quietly and repeatedly damage your sense of reality and worth. 3. Notice how she treats you when you're no longer useful. At first, a narcissistic woman can feel irresistible. Her attention feels like sunlight after a long winter. Warm, affirming, intoxicating. She studies what makes you feel appreciated, what words make you open up, and what gestures make you trust her. She mirrors your values, your dreams, even your humor, until it feels like she understands you better than anyone ever has. This early phase, often called love bombing, is not random affection. It's strategy, a way to secure emotional control through charm and admiration. In this stage, she is generous with attention and praise. Every compliment feels personal. Every message arrives at the perfect time. You may start believing you've met someone deeply empathetic, someone who finally sees you. But what you're really seeing is a reflection, not of who she truly is, but of who she needs to be to win your devotion. The shift comes quietly. One day, the warmth you counted on begins to fade. The tone changes, the interest wanes, the effort disappears. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. A slower response, an empty stare, a comment that leaves you second-guessing your worth. The same person who once celebrated your presence now seems irritated by it. This transformation happens when your role in her emotional economy starts to shrink. When you stop feeding her ego, when you stop providing admiration, validation, or convenience, your value to her drops. She withdraws affection, the way a ruler reclaims a privilege, coldly and decisively. Her kindness was never unconditional. It was a form of currency, traded for control and attention. When you try to reconnect, to ask what changed, she often deflects. She may accuse you of being too needy or dramatic, twisting your natural desire for clarity into proof that you're the problem. It's a tactic designed to make you doubt your reality, a kind of emotional gaslighting that keeps her in the position of power. You start apologizing for things you didn't do, just to restore the harmony she disrupted. This is not love. It is control wrapped in charm. Real love sustains itself through patience and empathy. It remains even when it's not convenient. But for a narcissistic woman, affection is never free. Every gesture of care hides an invisible condition. Stay useful, stay admiring, stay in orbit around her. The moment you stop meeting those conditions, the warmth turns cold, and the affection you thought was genuine becomes a weapon, withheld until you fall back into compliance. You may notice a peculiar cruelty in how she detaches. She doesn't just leave, she erases. She rewrites the past to make herself the victim, and you, the ungrateful one. The same memories that once felt sacred become stories she tells with contempt or indifference. It's as if your shared moments never meant anything at all. This erasure is her defense mechanism. If she acknowledged the real connection that once existed, she would have to face guilt, regret, or loss, emotions that threaten her sense of superiority. So instead, she deletes you emotionally to keep her ego intact. It's not personal, though it feels deeply personal. It's survival for her, but devastation for you. You might find yourself trying to win her back, to prove your worth again, to restore what was lost. That's the trap. Every attempt to earn her affection only feeds the cycle, reinforcing her belief that she holds the power to define your value. The harder you try, the less she respects you, because in her world, vulnerability is weakness, and devotion is something to exploit. The most painful realization is that What you thought was intimacy was never truly mutual. It was an exchange, your emotional depth for her sense of importance. When that exchange no longer benefits her, she leaves you behind, drained and confused, wondering how someone who once seemed so kind could become so indifferent. True compassion doesn't vanish when it's inconvenient. It doesn't calculate, and it doesn't disappear when there's nothing left to gain. If her care comes with conditions, if her warmth depends on your usefulness, it was never love. It was dependency disguised as affection. When you recognize this pattern, you reclaim your power. You begin to see that her withdrawal isn't proof of your inadequacy. It's proof of her emptiness. And once you see that clearly, you can walk away without needing closure, because closure never comes from someone who was never truly there. Understanding what lies beneath. It's easy to mistake a narcissistic woman for someone simply confident, independent, or high value. But the difference is emotional depth. Confidence is grounded in self-respect. Narcissism is built on fear. Fear of being unseen, unloved, or ordinary. That's why she needs constant attention. That's why she redefines every story to favor herself. That's why she cannot handle being wrong, even when the truth is obvious. Her identity depends on external admiration, because inside, there's a deep void where genuine self-worth should be, and that void keeps demanding more validation, more control, more people to mirror her idealized image. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing her behavior. It means recognizing the patterns before they consume your peace. Because once you know what you're dealing with, you can choose how to protect your boundaries and your energy. Healing after the storm. If you've ever been close to a narcissistic woman, whether as a friend, sibling, or partner, you probably know how confusing it can be. One day, you feel cherished. The next, you're invisible. One moment, she's affectionate. The next, she's cold. It's an emotional roller coaster that leaves you questioning your worth. The healing begins when you realize the problem was never your sensitivity or your kindness. It was your belief that love could change someone who refuses to look in the mirror honestly. Letting go doesn't mean hatred or revenge. It means choosing peace over chaos, truth over illusion. It means understanding that your empathy is not weakness, it's your superpower. But that superpower needs protection. Surround yourself with people who give without keeping score. Seek connections where mutual respect is the foundation. Learn to listen to your instincts, because deep down, your intuition always sensed when something wasn't right. Final thoughts. The freedom of seeing clearly. Once you see a narcissistic woman for who she truly is, you'll never look at charm the same way again. You'll start recognizing the difference between confidence and control, between love and manipulation, and that awareness is your freedom. No one deserves to live under someone else's emotional shadow. You deserve relationships that nourish your heart, not drain it. You deserve honesty, tenderness, and peace, not confusion and doubt disguised as passion. So pay attention to the signs. Protect your energy, and remember that walking away from what harms your soul is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because the truth is, once you stop trying to fix someone who thrives on chaos, your light begins to return, and that light is what the world needs most. And as always, because YouTube's algorithm tends to favor videos with strong engagement, if you feel this video has brought you value, a simple like and a quick subscribe would mean so much. It not only helps this message reach more people who need it, but also ensures you will never miss the next video that could make a difference in your journey. Thanks all.